So I am a placement coordinator, a social activities coordinator, but I'm also a PhD student in the division and a study group co-lead and teaching assistant. So in my role as placement coordinator, I try to match students up with placements based on where they live and their research experience previously, as well as their general interests. And in my role as social events coordinator, I try to organise a bit of fun into the MSc. Placements are a really good opportunity for students to get real-world experience in the field, and they look great on a CV. So students can expect to build really useful skills and experience to complement what they're learning on the course. However, they're not a formal part of the course. Students aren't obligated to do one, and they're not guaranteed or assessed in any way. I do my best to match students up to placements based on their areas of interest and where they live, but obviously there's always compromises in terms of how far people are willing to travel and what kind of service they'd like to be in. Every student who asked for a placement this year got one though. So all of our placement students are expected to attend a clinical mental health setting or a research setting for 1 day a week for a minimum of 6 months throughout the Masters. In a clinical role, we'd expect that you are able to attend multidisciplinary team meetings with your fellow clinical staff and potentially, depending on the service, attend service user groups or help with service evaluation projects, as well as maybe some shadowing. And then similarly in a research setting as well, students would be expected to attend meetings, help shadow sort of patient assessments, and then maybe help with data entry or scoring. So I was actually a clinical mental health sciences MSc student before I did my PhD. And the best thing I found about it was that I came out of it a really well-rounded researcher. So I felt that the staff were really supportive throughout, and I was able to tailor the experience to my interests and my professional goals, which meant that I came out of it ready to apply for a PhD and sure that that was the route I wanted to take. So through my placement, I was able to get experience as an assistant psychologist. There were some opportunities to help out as a research assistant around the division, and for my research project, for my dissertation, I was able to approach a researcher whose work I particularly liked and design my own project based on that. And there was also a group of my peers who, with support from the staff, organised a sort of student conference where we invited speakers to talk about topics we hadn't learned about on the MSc as well. So that was a really good way to learn more about other topics that we're interested in that could help with our future careers.
I also found really appealing the optional placements. So the program offers to students the opportunity to gain practical experience either in clinical settings or in research settings. And I think that's really important, especially for a foreign student, because you kind of get an idea of how real life work is in research or in clinical practice, and then you decide whether you would like to do that and what sort of skills you need to actually embark on such a career.
My clinical placement was in an early intervention in psychosis service, and I was really fortunate with the service. It was a really lovely team and they made me feel quite welcome, and I got quite a lot of responsibility, so I was involved with helping out with groups and also individual one-to-one work, so it was good for building my clinical skills as well.
I was doing 1 day a week with an autism diagnostic service, adult autism diagnostic service, and the clinic only ran actually 1 day a week because it was quite a small clinic, so I was there literally 100% of the clinic days, and I was really kind of made to feel part of the team. I was given a lot of things to do, and it really helped me to kind of learn more about how the NHS works from within and the role of an assistant psychologist, and it was just really, really valuable. Yeah, it was a great experience.
I really enjoyed it, and I am still in contact with some of the people who worked there, and it was definitely the first introduction I had to actually speaking with people with psychosis, and that also helped me a lot in my later job, that it wasn't all new.
We were offered placements if we wanted to undertake them in the field of in services that were associated with dementia, and I just thought it was a really great way of incorporating what we'd learned into practice. Because we were taking modules from the Institute of Neurology, we were also able to attend cognitive ward rounds in the hospital in Queen Square, as well as cognitive radiology meetings and brain cuts in Queen Square as well, which was also just added to the learning process.
In terms of my clinical work, I now work in a clinic early intervention in psychosis, and that's gained me a lot of clinical experience that I can bring forward to later on in future job experiences. And then also in the research, I now work in the policy unit, so I'm doing really exciting work there as well, which I never anticipated I would do. Yeah. The team that I work with is quite small, and they're all quite young, and they're all social workers that are highly motivated, and they really want to help me get the most out of my placement. So we go on home visits, and I've experienced things that I never really experienced before, and situations that I kind of have to learn how to deal with. For example, maybe a mother who's just crying the entire time, and how to deal with that, and what kind of risk assessments. So I feel very well supported there. And also the manager of the clinic also makes sure that I have enough research work to do as well. And also the psychologists allow me to kind of shadow them sometimes if the participant or the client consents. And so it's been such a good experience for me.